Hey beauties, Millie here. I'm coming at you with a quick little episode today that is going to be super high impact. Boundaries are the name of the game today. And honestly, there is a boundary revolution happening, I believe, in the world right now, where there is an entire generation of women and men alike who are finally learning what boundaries are and the importance of them. And the reason I wanted to talk to you guys about this today is because boundaries are quintessential to a worthy AF life. Okay. And now I know last week on the pod, I had mentioned that my brand new course, Worthy AF, was opening its doors. But life served us up COVID. So I had to delay the launch an extra week, and the course is now officially open. And the reason that I wanted to talk to you about boundaries today is because boundaries are a quintessential part of living a worthy life. People who have strong boundaries are able to maintain their energetic capacity to actually come from a place of authenticity in their relationships, to come from a very true place where they're able to give in a way that's more meaningful because it's not backed by secret resentment or feelings of bitterness or feelings of victimhood, feelings of resentment, whatever that may be, that's secretly going on behind the scenes when we are ignoring our own boundaries, when we are not holding true to what feels right for us. Okay. And boundaries are something that we all need to learn. It's a skill that we all need to learn because what a boundary is essentially is where you end and the world begins. It's understanding what is acceptable to you and what feels good to you. And when I first started to learn about boundaries, the thing that made it click for me was that whenever you don't feel good, whenever something happens that makes you feel bad in a certain way, in any certain way, it means that there's a boundary that's been violated. And now it doesn't mean that somebody has done something bad to you by violating a boundary. Some boundaries are, much more extreme than others, but it just means that it's now your responsibility to communicate it. And I think that's the most difficult part about boundaries, is learning that skill of communication. And that comes in time. But what I wanted to share with you today that I'm going to be teaching inside of Worthy AF, because the way I want you to look at worthiness is as a skill, as a practice, and as something to cultivate rather than a big fluffy concept, rather than this fleeting feeling that we are reaching for with bubble baths and affirmations and sheer willpower. Okay, because the truth of the matter is you were born worthy of everything that you desire. And unfortunately, through repeated conditioning and messaging and socialization in our unhealthy ways of being in this society, have made you believe otherwise. Okay. And when we first discover boundaries, first of all, when we first encounter people who have good boundaries, we can often label those women as bitches. And I remember the day when I would view women with good boundaries as bitchy, because you have internalized this programming that women should be flexible, they should be sweet, they, should be available. There's all of this programming we have around women being doormats. right? People pleasers. And when somebody isn't willing to go out of their way to accommodate you or do something for you that they maybe would have previously, it almost feels like a slap in the face. And the reason being that it feels like a slap in the face is because for anybody who previously benefited from your lack of boundaries, it's like, oh, you're saying no to me? That's weird. But then you turn that around and it empowers you internally to know that you also have the right to say no to things that don't jive with you. Okay. So when we first start to learn about boundaries, what can happen, and I believe this happens when any sort of change comes around, is that it's like a pendulum swinging. Okay. And when we first start to learn about boundaries, the pendulum often swings a little bit too far to the side of rigidity with boundaries. So there are rigid boundaries, there are flexible boundaries, and there are porous boundaries. Okay. So oftentimes women have porous boundaries. Okay. We are elastowomen, we're flexible, ultra hyper flexible, bending over backwards for people. And then we swing over to the other side of rigid boundaries. And also, rigid boundaries can come out of a place of trauma, out of a place of wounding, because we feel like we need to like wall ourselves off. And put up walls to protect ourselves. And walls and boundaries are not the same thing. Okay. They are not the same thing. Walls keeps other people out. And it's a defense mechanism and a coping mechanism. Whereas boundaries are simply basically rules of engagement for how you are available for people to engage with you. Right. And now it's not that you can control other people's actions or behaviors. That is absolutely not the point here. But the point is, these are the rules for yourself for how you're going to respond to the way people engage with you. Right. So the rigid boundaries are usually the first sort of step, and that's where you kind of feel defensive and you don't really know how to communicate calmly or neutrally. It feels a little bit charged, which is okay. It's part of the process of learning, right? And so this is something that I'm going to be teaching inside of Worthy AF is how can we recognize where we need to do some work on our boundaries, and how can we implement those boundaries? How can we communicate to those in our lives in a way that feels compassionate and kind rather than confrontational or defensive, right? Because nobody wants that. And I think a lot of people avoid setting boundaries because they don't want to feel confrontational. And that is not the goal, right? So we have the rigid boundaries. And then once we start to learn how to communicate our boundaries, that's when we can swing back into the middle of this pendulum, that's going back and forth into a more flexible territory. And this is where we know when we can give a little bit more and when we want to pull back a little bit more. So the boundary is not a black and white. Some boundaries may be black and white for you. They may be non-negotiable boundaries, right? There's different types of boundaries too, right? There's internal boundaries and there's external boundaries. Internal boundaries are the ones you set for yourself, and the external boundaries are the things you set outside of yourself. There are physical boundaries, emotional boundaries, mental boundaries, all sorts of boundaries, right? And when you get into that flexible territory of having healthy boundaries, it's like a dance. You learn the steps of how to go forward, how to pull back, when to twist, when to turn, and when to sit down and sit this one out, right? And so one of my biggest goals is to teach you these skills because I believe that worthiness is made up of 6 core skills, pillars, 6 pillars of worthiness, which I'm teaching inside of Worthy AF. And right now, today, up until Thursday, Thanksgiving in the US, which I believe is the 25th. Let me just look at my calendar. The 25th, right? Up until Thursday, you can get the I Love You So Much bundle for free along with the Worthy AF course. Okay, so the Worthy AF course is a 6-week course in which I teach the 6 pillars of worthiness, and exclusive to my podcast listeners, I am going to put a promo code in the show notes, and it will be active for 1 week. So until the next week's podcast airs, which is next Friday, Black Friday, you can get $111 off of the course with this coupon code, plus you will get the I Love You So Much bundle for free. The I Love You So Much bundle is my Black Friday bundle, which includes 2 courses, Move Girl, my original 6-week course that helps you stop self-sabotaging, get out of your own way so that you can start living a fully expressed and present life, as well as Miracles with Money, and 4 of my master classes, Fail-Proof Manifestation, Embracing Luxury, the Lookup Masterclass, and my Quantum Goal Setting Workshop, Party Like It's 1999. So that bundle alone is a $771 value, and I am giving that to you for free as an early bird bonus when you sign up for Worthy AF as a founding member, because this is the first round of this course ever, and it will be the only round that I am teaching live. Okay, so you can get $111 off, which brings the course to $444 Canadian, plus this bundle of $771. The value all total is over $1,300 worth of courses and material that you're getting for $444. And you have just under a week to cash in on that. So grab the link in the show notes right now, get yourself signed up. Even if you can't attend the courses live, the teachings live, they will be recorded and you will have lifetime access along with all 6 workbooks. And there will be 2 live Q&A group coaching sessions for this round only. I won't be doing that again because I won't be launching this course live again. This will be a go at your own pace, evergreen course available from now on. I will only be teaching 2 courses from now on. This will be one of them. This will be my entry-level course, Worthy AF, which will lead into Shameless Manifestation, which is my big mama manifestation program, which is launching again in the new year. It's a 4-month immersive, transformative experience. And what I have seen and noticed is that there's some worthiness skills that need to be learned in order to go into a program like that. So that's why I created this course, because I know that you want to feel audaciously worthy and completely fulfilled. You want to feel fulfilled. You're just not quite there yet. And you want to feel fully self-expressed, but the self-doubt and the guilt are what are holding you back. The guilt around money, the guilt around time. And I'm going to help you release the fear, the doubt, the guilt, so that you can step into your worthiness and start cultivating it and practicing it as the skill that it is. And remember your worthiness that you were born with. So that's it, girlfriend. That's it for this week's episode. Dive in, take the plunge, do this for yourself. It will not only affect you positively, it will affect your children so positively, because the best way to teach our children boundaries is to model healthy boundaries in ourselves, as well as all of the other 6 pillars of worthiness. So thank you for listening. Share on social if you enjoyed this episode. Tag me so I can see, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.